Welcome back to Lillehammer. Still beautiful conditions here at the men's skiathlon about to get underway, and the track's looking fantastic. It's a really tough course. Mike Dixon, Patrick Whittington with you throughout to try and work out what's going to happen. The question that everyone's asking around here is, can Klæbo do it again? 4 out of 4 wins this season. He's tired, there's no doubt about that. I heard him saying he was looking forward to Christmas. He's got a while to go and lots of races to go before then. But for someone so young, 5 wins out of 5 would be astonishing.
Would be astonishing, and I honestly think today, the endurance of this 30-kilometre, I think it's unlikely. I'd love to see him win again, but I think it's unlikely.
But they're going to have to shake him off before the last lap if they want to beat him, because he's proved himself to be a good endurance athlete with an exceptional sprint and a very good racing head on him. Well, yesterday was all about the sprints. We had a lot of snow earlier on, but by the time we got to the men's final, the conditions were very good. Now, Klæbo making it through without too many issues. He had a couple of Russians for company. Ustiakov wearing 12, Bolshinov, the youngster, wearing 2. But Klæbo, he played a clever game, didn't want to lead down the hill. He exploded with 130 meters to go, and there was nothing that the Tour de Ski winner from last year could do. Klæbo, 4 out of 4. Ustiakov gets second place. He was happy with that. His form's coming back. And then Bolshinov, having not had a podium before this season, gets 2 in a row. So Bolshinov, 3rd place. Halvorsen of Sweden down in 4.
He's
saying, yeah, got a lot of confidence. It's really happy that his body's still working as well as it is. He thinks that the skiathlon's going to be tough. He knows it's going to be tough. He's going to have to take a lot of positives from today. But he says, to be honest, I'm tired. I'm looking forward to a break. But I guess we're going to see him fight pretty hard today.
Quite interesting that the fact that he is 22 days away from Christmas and he's wanting that break already. But you never know with Klæbo. He can bring magic to every race, and he can, as long as he can stay with the pace. Sounds easy, difficult to do, then he'll be all right for the end.
Well, no Dario Colonia racing today, which is a little bit of a shame. He's the Olympic champion, of course, from Switzerland. He'll be pacing himself throughout the season. His big goal will be South Korea. But we do have Martin Jonsrud Sundby, and I get the feeling that you think this course is designed with him in mind.
Well, if anybody can take a 3.5 minute, 3:15 for the men, possibly climb, what, 8 times in one big hit. He's got the engine, he's got the technique, and he's got the mental toughness to cope with that climb. We've seen it in the past here.
But as you say, with 8 times up that climb, surely the first 3, 4, 5 of them, they're going to take steady.
You'd expect, but I think we might see a break quite early, an attempt at a big break.
A very good morning to you. If you've just joined us, you've already missed the women's skiathlon, which was a cracking race, and well worth catching up with later on. We're waiting for the start of the men's 30-kilometre skiathlon, 15 in the classic style to start with, 15 in the freestyle. Mike Dixon, Patrick Winston with you throughout the morning. And Mike, after Ruka, which was a fairly punishing program, a mini tour, 3 events in 3 days, straight into this week in Lillehammer. I'm just wondering, if you were training an athlete, where you would like them to be at this stage of the season?
I don't think, with it being the Olympic season, I would not want them to be absolutely at their best at this stage. I would be concerned if that was the case. If you're in super form now, very, very difficult to hold that through till February. And I think every coach will be viewing February, the Olympic Games, as the key moment for their athletes. So it's a tough one. Where does that leave Klæbo? On wonderful form, but then you feel that he can hold that kind of shape. So talented. Youthful enthusiasm.
Yeah. Is it his best? Well, I thought there were signs yesterday that the others were starting to catch him. I didn't think he'd lost anything from what we saw in Ruka, but the others are starting to catch him. Ustiakov starting to live with the pace that he's setting, so that will be interesting. Lillehammer, really is it the home of cross-country skiing? I think it is really here in Oslo. They have some very good alpine resorts as well. But so much you can do when the weather's like this. They get real summers and they get real winters. This is the key to success. Start when you're knee-high to a grasshopper. It's fantastic sight, isn't it?
They had the little race bibs on. It's all fun, but good balance and movement.
Yeah, I think any Norwegian coach you talk to says the only thing you need to do is make it good fun for the youngsters, and then they want to come back.
Well, if you make it serious and hard training, they don't come back, they don't enjoy it. So that looked like fun, and that's how to capture them.
Transponders on, and we're just about ready to go. And they will be wearing bibs that correlate with their distance World Cup standings. So not the overall World Cup. Klæbo is, of course, the overall World Cup leader. Here we have
looking ahead to the
Tonseth.
skiathlon now. We've seen you can ski everything. It's an event you're excited for?
Поздравляю с успешным выступлением в спринте. Было очень увлекательно, здорово и замечательно. Какие твои ожидания насчет завтрашней гонки? И выглядит так, что ты готов и будешь бежать все.
Спасибо большое за поздравления. Завтра, да, я выхожу на старт, и как бы по завтрашней гонке будет видно. Завтра у нас старт, и это немного другая гонка, где придется работать более длинная гонка, и все также будет решаться на финише, поэтому главное доехать до финиша, а там уже разбираться и стараться заезжать как можно выше.
So thanks a lot for your congratulations, and really he will tomorrow start, and but anyway it's another race, and we will see tomorrow in his conditions. So the target will be to keep in the leading group until the finish, and anyway to do the best on the finish line.
All right, thank you, and good luck.
Спасибо. Thanks a lot.
Well, nice to see a smile from Bolshinov, wearing bib number 2, not because that's what he's wearing. That interview took place yesterday. That's what threw us there. And Bolshinov, of course, second fastest qualifier in the sprint. He went on to win 3rd place behind Klæbo and Ustiagov. So he's on form and very, very strong. He'll win a sprint finish before too long.
He will. Unfortunately, Klæbo's in such strong form, but he's only 20-year-old Bolshinov. He'll be 21 on the 31st of this month.
Well, let's just remind you as to what's coming up today. We go from the cross-country to the biathlon. Nordic combined a little later on with David Goldstrom. Ski jumping from Russia starts at 3 o'clock UK time. And then, of course, the alpine skiing this evening. Beaver Creek for the men's giant slalom. Lake Louise for the ladies' Super G. So there you have confirmation of what's coming up. 15K Classic and 15 free. The women's 7.5K Classic was very slow. I think it was 28.5 minutes for the first 10K of the race. We haven't seen them go that slow for a long, long time.
I think that's two things, isn't it? The temperature at -9 is slightly warmer now. It is, in fact, yeah, there's the snow temperature, 6.7, still cold. But the huge climbs here, Patrick. And in the men's race, a total climb. Good, here we have a chance to see it's the same track for both classic and for freestyle. 624 meters climb on both of these legs, the classic and the freestyle, making 1,248 climb.
That's the big climb at around 1,600 meters, all the way up to 2,300. And that's where the damage was done. That's where Calla made her break. It's where Calla and Ven got away from the bulk of the field. And here's your lineup for today. Klæbo wears 1, of course. Tonseth 2. We've got Holund, Magnifica, Heikkinen there as well. Andrew Musgrave has got bib number 18 today, which is his ranking in terms of the Distance World Cup. And Andrew, certainly capable of getting into the top 10. The question is, can he live with the pace in the Classic? Does this course suit him?
I think it does. He's a real fighter. He is an ultimate fighter. And Callum Smith, we mustn't forget Callum, bib number 69. But yes, Muzzy does like this course. We've seen him performing, in fact, last year in the freestyle, performing very well here. And let's hope he can give one of his best performances here. If he does, that will be him on a podium. Maybe a bit early in the season to be expecting that yet.
Yeah, he was 11th in the distance race here in freestyle. Andrew Musgrave. The first two out are Johannes Hustler-Kleibo and Alexei Shavotkin there as well. A couple of the youngsters, 22, that's Sørøte for Norway, and you can see there are plenty of Norwegians. Hunter Sundby just trying to get the limbs going. I think with the 30K, Mike, I think the climb up, the first ascent, the first round of this circuit, I would have thought was going to be fairly conservative. Is anyone going to be bold enough to go straight away?
It's unlikely, isn't it, on over such a long distance, but you just feel that Sundby, not having been through the sprints yesterday, he'll be determined. He likes this course very much. We may see Sundby taking the pace on early.
Bonus sprints on offer, and you win World Cup points as opposed to seconds, as is the case often in the Tour de Ski. And the points are designed really to keep the pace high, so we don't have a procession all the way to the halfway point.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely spices it up. You want to get 15 World Cup points bonus, you need to cross that section of the track at the front of the pack, and it will keep it fast.
Number 5 is Heikkinen of Finland, and he's a class act. Niskanen as well, two very solid Finns. Hans Christer Holland, he's looked pretty good of late.
He has. There's so many unsung heroes in the Norwegian team. Tønseth as well. They've done so well in their careers, but they're in the shadow, really, of this man. And, of course, Sundby.
That little shake of the shoulders, a shimmy that just gets Kleibo prepared. Didrik Tønseth, he's in the perfect position to follow his teammate. Over on the right-hand side, that's Maurice Magnificat. Now, if he's in the running at the halfway stage, Magnificat with the fastest time in Ruka over the freestyle pursuit last week, almost exactly a week ago to the minute. And I think Magnificat would fancy his chances, but he's got to be there at halfway. Can't afford to be playing catch-up. 19, Patrick Caldwell of USA, an up-and-coming skier. So just seconds to go before the start of the men's first skiathlon of the season. And Kleibo it is with the honour of wearing the yellow bib and, of course, having the best spot to start from. 5 rows. And away they go, no major issues. Still at -6.7. The waxing is relatively easy. And we shouldn't see too many issues. The humidity's gone from 83% down to 73%. Will that have had the technicians in a bit of a flurry?
I think they certainly will have tested in between, I'm quite sure. And with 72 competitors in this one, Patrick, 15 of them Norwegian. Think of the nightmare for the Norwegian wax technicians to prepare the skis for 15 top athletes.
But the hard part is making the decision as to what you're going to put on. So once they've done that, they just repeat that 15 times.
But I think it's fair to say, remember the women's race, we saw, of course, Weng had good grip on the uphills, but without a doubt, Marit Bjørgen was slightly disadvantaged. Maybe they just went too light on the grip wax, but she certainly wasn't getting good grip up the climb. The climb, all these climbs. Well, Kleibo started fast, just flexing his muscles. You'll see he's at the front, and the pace isn't fast at all after a minute.
Controlling things at the moment and chopping and changing tracks to minimise the distance he has to ski. I think that's a fairly safe move. Martin Jonsrud Sundby is in there. He's wearing bib number 7. Tunseth wearing the red bib. You might have seen him. Well, it's steady pace, Mike, but now we've gone down to 3 tracks. Just by the fact that there's no room, the back end of the field, some 75-80 meters behind the leaders.
It's a huge disadvantage. I am amazed, Patrick, that they haven't created 4 tracks for at least 2 kilometers to allow some of these athletes with the lower bib numbers. They just simply can't pass at the moment.
Yeah, I think on certain sections, the issue is that they've tried to get a classic and a freestyle track in there side by side.
Well, there's one casualty, ski pole casualty already.
That's Jensen of Norway, Jan Thomas Jensen from Hommelvik. And hopefully he's sponsored with his poles, otherwise he's going to be digging into his Christmas money to buy a new set. At is it 350 quid for a pair of top-end poles?
Don't want to snap them. Oh, you don't mind snapping them. If you're a World Cup athlete, you just get another pair. But if you've bought them, it's an expensive hobby. Well, it's nothing dramatic yet, so they're, as expected, not a complete break from the gun. Well, that's what happens when there's only 3 lanes.
Yeah.
Sorry, 4 to begin with, dropping to 3.
Got to be careful they don't drift more than 2 meters away from the racetrack. And on the downhill section, things starting to spread out a little. Anyone with good skis, I think it's difficult to tell from that because you get sucked along in the vacuum behind the lead skiers. And Klæbo going for a little bit of double polling. Alex Harvey alongside him. Alex Harvey, a potential winner. Who else do we need to be looking at? Ustiugov, I would certainly put right at the top of my list. Yeah. Alex Harvey, possibly?
Possibly. We know how good a hunter he is. If he can survive this, maybe not quite hanging on as well in the classic, but certainly freestyle, he'll be there. I think Niskanen, yes, we know he's a great classic skier, but he's improved a lot in his freestyle. And what about Matti Häkkinen? He's won one of these in a pursuit some years ago.
Yeah, that's a long way off the finish line. I guess we should be thinking in terms of who's good enough and who's bold enough to try and make a break in the classic and earn themselves an advantage into the second phase.
Well, I think Sundby quickly springs to mind, but that interview I thought was very interesting with Bolshinov. His team meeting, he alluded to that they need to be there in the home straight to stand, you know, so he's got with full intent to stay there till the final 200 meters.
Shivotkin looks a bit more positive than that. He's gone early. And number 12, that's Bolshinov. We got a quick glimpse of Ustiugov, who's wearing bib number 17. There he is. Facial hair usually gives him away. Shivotkin. It's an interesting sort of posture Shivotkin has. He has an extra couple of degrees forward angle of the upper body. He's got a long stride.
It's kind of old school, that, isn't it? Textbook old Russian classic technique from the early 80s, late 80s, 90s.
Well, we should get a glimpse there. No, well, he is there. It's just that Niskanen has taken up the lead. Niskanen, after his performance in Lahti in the 15K Classic, must feel that his only chance is to be 30 seconds clear of everyone at the start of the 15 free.
Yeah, look at his technique, Patrick. Niskanen, the world champion, he just glides so easily. Every compression he gets, a 2-3 meter glide, makes it look so efficient. Well, they all do. They're all top class in the world, but I suppose Niskanen just holds that world title in this, the 15-kilometer Classic.
Well, they make this climb look very, very easy. Holland wearing 3 on the left-hand side. Niskanen, as you know, leading, and one of the world's best classic skiers. In the red bib, as we mentioned, is Didrik Tunseth of Norway, 6th in the World Championships in this event. Häkkinen, Harvey, Bolshinov, Ustiugov, Sveen. Polteranin is up there for Kazakhstan. He's a good classic skier, Mike. He could go with the pace with Niskanen, I suspect.
And the word is that Polterainen, like Niskanen, has worked so much this summer to improve his freestyle.
And you might have picked up Andrew Musgrave in 18th position. He's wearing bib number 18 as well, so living up to expectations at the moment. He's a much improved classic skier, Andrew Musgrave. There's no doubt about that, but still, his best distance, his best style is 15-free.
I think so. And of course, that is what happens this year in the Olympic Games, 15-free. I think this event, the skiathlon as well, Andrew Musgrave has a real chance, but needs to stay with the group in this part, the classic section. You just see Muzzy there, bib number 18.
High tempo. Back down towards the stadium, 4 times around the loop for each of the legs, and they're going to be very familiar, probably sick to death of it by the time they've finished today.
I'm a little surprised there, Patrick, at 2.4. Sundby is, well, he's not at the sharp end. He'll probably come back to the sharp end.
What have we got? 5 seconds separating the top 15, not much more than that. Klæbo is in there, Sundby at 5.8.
Yeah, 16th position, 5.8. Of course, he's in the action.
Now, if they're all together around this corner on the final loop, we're going to see an interesting situation. And now they start to climb, and fascinating to see how spread out they get on the fast, long downhill.
And that's a safety thing, isn't it? And I think I said after the women's race, the first lap, I said the men will be more clumped together, but Liiva Niskanen is setting a burning pace now and really stretching the field. Slipping occasionally as it gets more and more steep to the top of this hill. Tunseth looks nice and easy, technically not stressed behind him. A definite 5, just getting away a little.
Now, this is going to be the home straight in about an hour's time when they've completed all the loops. Are we going to be under 10 minutes for the first loop? It looks as though we may well be.
Well, Niskanen was at the front. He certainly got good grip on the uphill, but his ski's not gliding quite as well as Tunseth or those Shavotkin around him as well. Poland's there. Sundby, you could just see him having a look forward there, and you easily believe he could bridge that gap, but he doesn't really want to close the gap down. Is he thinking they're going too fast too soon?
I think if you stay within 10 seconds of the leaders, you should be in a position to close up, but you don't want to create too much work for yourself. It's definitely a tough one, and you feel that those who have home advantage will know exactly how to pace this race. Sundby will have trained here many times. All the Norwegians have training camps down in this part of the world. Niskanen has every right to be confident being the 15K world champion, but you sometimes wonder whether the early pace is too fast, but maybe not. We'll find out in probably 20 minutes time. I think by the time they've completed 3 laps, Mike, things will have sorted themselves out.
Well, I think so, and with that little section there when Shavotkin was at the front, it slowed down, allowing the rest of the field to close in, and now it's Niskanen again who's restless, taking the pace on.
Sundby's made a move, got himself up into 5th place. He's now only 10 to 12 meters down on the race leader, which I think he'll be comfortable with. Manifka back at 35, 40 meters behind the race leader. Needs to be just a little bit wary. Going backwards is Salvadori of Italy. He's dropped, he must have dropped 20, 25 places over the last couple of kilometers. 52 That's Pepene of Romania. He's doing pretty well. He's within 30 seconds of the leader. So it's Niskanen who leads. Number 6 is Alexei Shavotkin, who set the pace up the first climb. Tonsev just behind him. 3 is Holland. We've got Sumbi in there. Alex Harvey, number 8. And then number 20, making a good move, Jean-Marc Gaillard, who was 5th in the Olympic Games. One or two barbecues being lit in the woods as we approach lunchtime, and the smell of sausages and bacon will probably make the racers long for the end of this one. They're coming towards the halfway stage of lap number 2, and that's 2 of 8.
Just thinking, you mentioned coming up to midday, and well, let's be honest, the sun isn't very high at all. There it is. And it's only going one way now, back down, so it'll soon be dark.
We're not that far north. I don't think we're any far north than the very northern point of the UK.
That's sort of lower Norway. What, 2 hours, 2:20 train time from Oslo up here to Lillehammer. Did it a couple of weeks ago as well.
Yeah, the travel to these parts is fantastic, isn't it? The train straight into the airport, onto the train, and straight into Lillehammer. It's why so many cross-country skiers come to this area. There's Sundby on the far side, looking composed. Harvey alongside him. We haven't spoken of Johannes Husflut Kleibo recently, but there he is in the yellow bib, and still got his eye on the race leader. Shavotkin's been working pretty hard. He's covered every move that's been made. He's certainly injected a little bit of speed on that first lap, and it seems as if he's quite, as I say quite keen to lead. He suddenly says, no, enough of this. I'm playing I'm not playing my cards quite right.
I think that was a tactically bad move, because he'll find it real difficult to get back into the tracks. He'll have to push his way into that left track as you look up the hill. Oh, he's got in now.
There he is. He's tucked in behind Alexander Bolshinov, who's looking for his third podium. There's Andrew Musgrave. Now, in terms of the British team, Mike, Andrew Young's produced some good results. He's not been well at the beginning of the season, so I haven't really seen him feature. But Muzzy, in terms of the endurance events, is way out in front. He's pretty much on his own. How important, then, are his links to the Norwegians and the Norwegian national team?
I think they're huge, and we've seen that since he was 17 and he moved out to Norway and has become almost Norwegian, spoke it within 6 months. And I think that is important, to have friends and a team that you talk to, associate with, and that has been the case with the Norwegians. But of course the British team has got big backup now, big finance, because of Muzzy's 4th position at the World Championships and Young's podium in the sprints as well.
Kalle Halvarsson struggling a little, as is Matti Heikkinen of Finland. Surprised to see him so far down. 33, that's Thomas Bing of Germany. And it's Didrik Tonsev now who sets the pace. Sumbi keeping an eye on him. Niskanen on the near side, still looking pretty comfortable, isn't he? And it's the second half of this climb. This is where it's at its steepest. And Niskanen on both occasions has gone to the front. Keep the pain on.
I was looking at all those around Niskanen in white, our side, and he is gliding. For every stride, he's gliding much farther, so less leg frequency than anyone else, more efficient up that climb.
I think it's fair to say he's comfortable. Jean-Marc Gaillard's done well, Mike. He's slowly, patiently worked his way to the front, but I still feel that Magnificat is the man for France who might be able to spring something. A great 7th place in the Olympic skiathlon.
He's 8 seconds behind at the moment, and I think it was Magnificat, his first ever victory was in the pursuit, as it was then, skiathlon as it's called now. 2010 was that victory. So, over 3 minutes, brutal climb, and then at least the recovery, you can get your breathing under control, but you're still working around these twisty, curvy sections, and of course the fast descent.
In terms of nationalities. Well, we've got 3 Russians in the leading group. Norway are there in abundance with Tonseth and Holland. Kruger is there, Sundby is there, as you know. Klæbo, the World Cup leader, is there. Dierhaug is there as well. And Finnhagen Krog, who we mustn't rule out, he's at the back of the group at the moment. And Finland also featuring Canada, represented by Alex Harvey. Polteranen of Kazakhstan is there. And the French with Gaillard. And I think Magnifica's still there. Or has Magnifica dropped off the pace?
He's there or thereabouts, 18th position. Well, look at this. I thought Klæbo would have a go at these points. He's coming wide on the outside now, but as he left it too late, at least he'll pick up some points.
How much effort is it worth to pick up 15 World Cup points? Klæbo says not that much. 18.29 for Niskanen as he goes through. Gaillard, Klæbo, Holland, Bolshanov is still there. Tonseth, Kershaw, Sundby. And so often, Mike, when they have these sprints, you then see the pace slow as everyone recovers, but you nearly always see 1 or 2 victims who've overcooked it on the sprint to get points and then just can't get the pulse rate down in time to settle into the next uphill section.
It takes a lot out of you if you're a runner or a cyclist and you put in a brutal 1-minute sprint within an endurance, you know, top-end hard work session. It takes you another kilometre to feel good again.
Just got a glimpse of De Fabiani of Italy, who's wearing bib 28. And he's still well positioned in this group, and the fact that they're bunching up at the front an indication that the pace has slowed significantly after that effort put in by Niskanen to secure the 15 bonus points. Hans-Christer Holland. No decisive move as yet. The pace is fairly punishing, but if you want to break away, you really have to throw caution to the wind and go at maximum. Sundby looking for shelter whenever he can, racing a smart race, I think, Mike. We didn't see him get too excited at the start when Shabotkin decided to set a stiff pace. And then since then, he's just made sure he's in a position to cover any move that is made out front.
He's just keeping an eye on things, isn't he? And this lead pack, it's a sort of a spread pack. There was 29 of them in it, and there's 20 seconds from first here to the 29th. And then there's a gap of 10 seconds, so we've got a definite breakaway pack at the moment.
And the good news is that Great Britain's Andrew Musgrave is still pretty much in there.
He very much is. He's in contact. I don't know what's happened. I didn't see it, but I see that Callum Smith has DNF. Now, something must have happened very early on because he didn't get through to the 3.75. Certainly try and get word on what's happened there.
Holland is keeping the work rate high. Harvey looks happy. And number 36 is Devin Kershaw. So 2 Canadians in the top 4 at the moment. 10, Polteranen. We've picked him out on a couple of occasions. 12 is Bolshanov, who lies second in the World Cup standings overall. Picked up the bulk of his points in the sprint event so far. And that's why he's not wearing bib number 2. 24, Andrei Larkov's allowed a bit of a gap to open up. Holland looking very strong out front. Sundby beautifully balanced, just keeping an eye on Harvey on his right-hand side.
I think we can safely say that this is hurting a lot of the athletes, Patrick. This momentum up the front. Holland setting another little impulsive break.
Yeah, it's cost Finnhagen Krog a place in that leading group, a gap of only 4 seconds, but it is significant. And then Musgrave, who was 19 seconds behind before, is back to 28. That was Kalle Halvorsen. He's never looked good today, and he'll be really disappointed with that when you consider what sort of form he was in last year. But actually, on the Sunday in Lillehammer, he was reduced to a walk then as well.
He burnt up, didn't he? Well, he did finish 4th yesterday, and we always say the sprint competition the day before a big endurance clearly and absolutely takes a lot of your energy, all the feeling out of your legs, and it looks like Halvorsen's struggling.
And if that's the case, we have to put a big question mark over the chances of Klæbo, who won the sprint yesterday, Ustiakov and Bolshinov of Russia, who both made it through to the final. Halvorsen, we've seen, is a spent force. He's not going to feature anymore. Iversen and Fosley also
well, they pulled out, actually,
they pulled out of this race simply because they didn't think there was enough time to recover and put in a top performance.
And we've seen Iversen do so well in these competitions, Fosley as well, but the view it, the coach is saying, well, is it worth it? You're going to be so exhausted going into this one. And that's clearly what Halvorsen is suffering at the moment.
Yeah, Holland is really pushing the pace now. He wants to thin this leading group down to, what, 5-10 athletes at the most.
Bolshinov, well, yeah, 3rd again yesterday, and you just feel as these laps unwind, he's going to suffer. He's only 20, but you never know.
Just thinking in terms of pulse rate, probably 90-92% of their maximum at the moment.
Yeah, and that's hard to live with. You can't sustain that kind of workload for too long. It really trips you up.
And in terms of their capacity, on the uphill climbs, they go up towards 100% of what they can do. And obviously, there's a fantastic recovery. So in many ways, this is similar to mountain bike racing.
It is. You do all that hard work on the way up, but you can get your breathing and your legs under some kind of control on the descents.
I think mountain bike racers probably have an advantage on the downhill in that they haven't really got to support their weight. And some of the technical downhills that we've had on World Cup courses require just as much work as the uphill.
Yeah, and the forces, Patrick, some of these descents, 65, 70 kilometers an hour, and then the forces that go through your legs on the corner with these narrow skis. No actual heel lockdown, it's a free heel.
Just in case you haven't sorted your national colours, the Santa suit is the Canadians in red and white. We've got blue and white for the Finns, number 9. That's the Finnish colours, similar to the Swedes, who are generally in light blue, yellow and white, predominantly white. The Norwegians you'll know just because there are masses of them, the blue, red and white stripes, and the Russians racing in what I would call magenta this year. And then the teams tend to have a different suit when it comes to the Olympic Games to confuse us all again. Just to throw us out. And Muzzy hasn't got his this season's race suit yet, so he's in a short-term fix. Well, the pace and especially this climb is beginning to hurt many. Yeah, Lartov's not enjoying it. 31 is Lucas Bergel of Germany, just going through the split. What's the margin to him? 24th position, 26 seconds behind. And I think he knows that he's not going to play a part in the race for the win when it comes to the transition. 26 minutes on the clock. In the World Championships, the first leg took 33:43. What are we going to be? What were we at the... After 2 laps, Mike? 2 laps, we were just under 20 minutes. Well, yes. 19:11. We're going to be closer to 39, 40 minutes for the halfway stage. Conditions in Lahti. We had a mix. We had some very wet. We had some fresh snow, but we also had completely packed ice, very, very fast, particularly the 50K. Oh, that was amazing. That was one of the fastest 50 kilometers ever. It's 1 hour 55 minutes. Only Sochi was a little quicker. Well, look at this. Yeah, we got another Syrota, who's I think he's now got some sympathy for Kalle Halvorsen, because he's decided that he's not going to be able to live with this for long. And in the skiathlon, if you want a chance, you've got to stay with the lead group. So you've got to give him credit for hanging in as long as he possibly could. These first couple of World Cups, Patrick, as you said, 3 races last weekend, sprints,
The trial, distance over 15 kilometres, then the pursuit the next day. And then this weekend, sprints again, and then a huge distance race, the 30-kilometre skiathlon.
Well, the news concerning Musgrave is not good. He's not managed to stay with the pace.
Well, 37 seconds behind, 27th position at 9.9 kilometres. And of course, this is brewing up for the next sprint. That's why it's gone fast up the climb.
Well, I guess the only hope for those who aren't in this leading group is that once they go through the bonus point section, the likes of Alex Harvey and Devon Kershaw will just ease things up. It's Devon Kershaw who leads up towards the intermediate split, and that's going to be some useful World Cup points to him. 13 is Kruger of Norway. We haven't mentioned him so far. Comes from Lynn Ski Club, and he should pick up the 12 points.
So good to see Devon Kershaw at the front. It's been many years since we've seen that, and of course Harvey going through there in 6th. They could work together.
Danny Rickardson up there as well. We haven't mentioned him, Mike. 6th in the Olympic Games. And I think that's Rickardson. It is Rickardson in 3rd place at the moment, just going past Devon Kershaw, showing once again that the Swedes have absolutely nailed their ski preparation, and that's been a consistent theme throughout the season, both in cross-country and biathlon.
Yeah, so true. Charlotte Kalla had perfect skis, good glide, fabulous grip, and I do like the way Hellner and Rickardson not racing yesterday, leaving them fresh for today. That's why they're still standing in this pack.
One more lap to go on this classic phase, and then 4 in the freestyle. As you can see, Skor is just off the pace, so we've got 18 well and truly in that leading group. Skor and Larkov with a bit of work to do to get back into contact, and that may happen when the climb starts, and then the gaps just widen as we go back down the field. Kershaw, Kruger, Rickardson, Holland, Gaillard, the leading 5. Harvey is there, the world 50-kilometre champion. Sundby, the overall World Cup winner, is just behind as well. We still haven't reached the halfway stage in the men's skiathlon. Just over 31 minutes on the clock. We're expecting the time taken to the 15-kilometre stage to be around 40 minutes. When you think, what was the winning time in Ruka? 33 minutes or something extraordinary for 15 kilometres. It gives you some idea of how much slower it is today.
And look what's happened now as well. We had 29 at this stage. Last time around, it's down to 19. I think I'm right in saying 19 athletes at present. So the pace is hurting the other 50. Another 52. And you just feel, Patrick, the pace hasn't... We haven't seen any real bursts of pace except for the bonus sprints. But now the pace is strong. It's tough all the time. Sundby has slowly just been, well, warming his engines up, and I think we're going to try and see, or we're going to see a break from him soon.
There's Devon Kershaw, and he is paying the price for putting on such a burst. He got the maximum points on the sprint, but he struggled to live with the climb out of the stadium for the 4th time. And slightly surprised to see Didrik Tonseth struggling as well. Andrei Larkov is with him, 38. That is Sindre Bjornstad Skor of Norway. And I'm not sure they're going to see the front of the field again unless there becomes a tactical slowing of the pace, but that is highly unlikely. Those who've got clear will want to stay clear before they switch to the freestyle skis.
Pace is picking up again, it absolutely is, and we've got a definite group here at the front. There's been a few withdrawals, Patrick. We've got Heikkinen's pulled out, Sure Rota has pulled out. Vestgaard, the Irish athlete, has pulled out, and Callum Smith.
And Klæbo at the moment is right on the back of that leading group. The problem with being at the back of a tight-knit group, Mike, is that you have this sort of concertina effect. You generally have to stop before the uphill sections, and then you have to accelerate more than everyone else when you reach the top of the hill to catch up with the group again. So your best position is, what, the first 5? You probably don't want to be 1 or 2, but 3, 4, 5, 6 are in a great position.
I think so, and Petter Northug, we mentioned many times that he would always sit around 8th to 15th, and that's the efficient part, I think, of this lead group. And he just hunted there all his time. Of course, until the last 200 meters. But no, he was exceptional.
I watched a clip of Petter Northug's highlights, and it's only when you see all his victories one after the other you get to appreciate what a phenomenal skier he was and how exciting he made cross-country skiing, and what he's achieved over the years. I hope, you know, we haven't seen the end of his winning ways. It would be lovely to see him, even if it's only for the 2-week period of the Olympic Games. Let's get him back to that top performance.
The races are still so exciting, but there's something missing when Petter Northug's not in a pack like this. You know, you never knew what to expect or what you'd see next from Petter.
Most memorable race you've ever seen him in?
Well, I was just thinking, there's been so many, but I think Falun, 50 kilometre, he was in 20th position with 1.2 kilometres left, I seem to remember, and then he put in this most horrific change of pace.
Yeah, the others were all watching for him, and because he was nowhere near the front, I think they thought, OK, we don't need to worry about Petter Northug, but he came back like no one else could possibly have done.
And look who's coming back in this one. Clebo, he's went through some tough times. He was 8 seconds and 11 seconds behind, but now he's telling the rest of the pack, listen, this isn't hurting me. This is actually quite easy. But it's not. They'll be so happy. This is the last time up this climb in classic technique. Next time will be freestyle.
Good news for the French is that they still have 2 of their athletes in there. Jean-Marc Gaillard is there, but I'd lost sight of Maurice Magnificat, but he's safely in the middle of the group. And they've got, what is it, a teal colour, the French suit. You can just see Gaillard there. He's up number 4, just behind and to the right of Sergei Ustiakov, who's wearing 17. So he's definitely a danger man, and I think Magnificat will really fancy his chances. Niskanen's making a bid for glory. He's got a 3-second lead. He's a much better classic skier compared to freestyle, but if he can get 20-25 seconds, it's possible. But to do the whole 15K of freestyle on your own, that's a big ask. It's
a huge task and quite an impossible task, I think, for Niskanen, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I sort of feel Niskanen needs 2 other good classic skiers, Polteranen or someone else, to go with him, and then they can work together as a group on the freestyle, but it doesn't look as though that's going to happen. And no one looks too concerned about just having Niskanen out front.
No, they know that his weakness is the freestyle, but do they know that he spent the summer working so much on it? Tønseth, we saw him leading, what, the first 2 laps, or lap and a half, and I think it's his wax that's letting him down. Tønseth, he's struggling up this climb.
Well, Klebo's playing a Northug game. He's gone from the back to the front, and he's back at the back of the group again, just trying to slow the pace on the climb. That's another trick he will have learnt from Northug.
He hasn't quite got the aura of Northug yet.
Not yet.
But yeah, Northug, they would just watch what Northug does, and of course Northug would be watching more to make his breaks. Devon Kershaw, I think you're right. That's the workload he put in to take that sprint last time around.
Yeah, now it's become a mental game for Kershaw, without the fun of knowing that you might be in the running for a top position come the end of the day.
Just heard from Roy that Callum has a shoulder injury and had to pull out for that reason. Thought there must be some injury so early on in the race.
Musgrave still in there, but he's no longer in the top positions. He's down in 23rd at the moment. He's 45 seconds off Niskanen of Finland. They slow their pace. A sharp left-hander that brings them towards the final climb of the loop. This is where the race could be won and lost, and we've got a breakaway of 6, and that is significant. No surprise to see Sergei Ustiakov going, the man who finished first in the World Championships, finished second in the sprint yesterday, so he's such a dangerous character.
Rickardson, I think he's about 3rd on our left column looking down the track. Just looks so easy, the big giant, about 2nd place. He's conserved a lot of energy in this coming up 15 kilometres.
Where's your money at this stage?
For the victory?
Yeah.
I'll still stick with Sundby.
You're going with Sundby?
Yep.
I think Ustiakov, Magnificat, are the two others that can challenge him.
Yeah,
and still remains to be seen as to what will happen with Klæbo. We'll just get you a split on Klæbo's time. Last time he was back down to 6.4 seconds behind.
Hellner's still there in 15th position, so this is the lead group. It's only 16 athletes now, and you just feel that this is going to slow down, Patrick, once they get their skating skis on, so the whole 16, I think, will come back together.
Now, which of the French athletes was it who came through the transition in the Olympics in 2010 and had a ski binder stuck on his ski when he exited the transition?
Now, I think it might have been...
Was it Magnifica?
Or I think it was Gaia.
One of them. They won't make that mistake again. You learn from your mistakes. It was a very, very painful one for the French.
Horrible to see that. He just couldn't, his ski wouldn't glide because he had this tie halfway down. He couldn't stop to take it off either.
You cannot win the race in this transition, but you can definitely lose it if you have problems. Klæbo nearest the camera. Off come the longer classic skis with the stick wax on as well as the glide wax. And then back onto the freestyle. Klæbo still waiting. He's going to be at the back of the group, a little bit slow. That may be showing some of his experience, and he's let a gap of some 25 meters. He's now got to put in the work to close that down, and he'll be hoping that Niskanen does not push too hard on the first climb.
He'll be praying that Niskanen doesn't. You wouldn't think Niskanen would lead this. I thought Klæbo's pit stop there was awful. I thought, well, he hasn't practiced this, hasn't been through many dry runs on this.
Yeah, 3 or 4 given away. Look at him, he's well down on what we would have expected. 5 seconds lost. Harvey just behind him.
There's Muzzy just come in now, came in fast, or hopefully he'll get out fast.
Tunseth, few issues.
Andrew Musgrave 1 minute 5 seconds behind at the half distance.
Hans Christer Holund setting the pace now with Martin Jonsrud Sundby, the two Norwegians setting the pace. Things are just starting to warm up here in terms of both the temperature and the race action. And the pace on the first climb out of the stadium, not too bad. They've got another a way to go on the climb before they can think about coming back down into the stadium. But suddenly, Sundby has decided he'll take the responsibility of setting the pace. Maurice Magnificat of France has gone with him. Klæbo is some 40 meters further back. The man who's looking to make it 5 wins from 5 races in the 2017-2018 season. And that lad, he's not interested. He won't be interested until they get towards the finish. I think the attention span for the young spectators, Mike, is really pushed to the limit with this 30K.
But isn't Norway great? I mean, it is all about families coming out to watch this. And maybe they brief the young kids saying, oh, well, hang on, it's just going to get really exciting in the last lap. So go and play, go and get some exercise. But I'll tell you what, it is picking up, and all change at the front again. Magnificat, you're right, he's feeling good.
I was trying to feed you the bait to say, let's cut the skiathlon down to two lots of 10K.
I would certainly go for that. We mentioned earlier today the women are doing half of what the men have done today, and I think it would keep it sparky as well at 20 instead of 30.
Maurice Magnificat delighted with his ski form in Ruka. Remember, he set the fastest time in the 15K freestyle there, and that is why he's decided to go from a long way out. And I think I'm just trying to look for the yellow bib of Klæbo as he dropped off the back of this group.
Well, he has. What, the last check at 15.8, he was 12 seconds down, and that's a hard bridge to cross now to pull that back.
He's still there. He's still there at the back of this pack. But if Maurice Magnificat keeps this pace going all the way to the finish, there are very few men who are going to be able to live with it. Holund is there, Harvey is there, Sundby is 4, Ustiakov is 5, and I think that's still Niskanen in 6. This man's enjoying it. He knows that he is the master at the moment. He's dictating the pace, and he is making everyone hurt.
Well, the second most efficient for me, just down the back there, 26, the huge figure of Rickardson. He's making it look like a Sunday afternoon easy cruise.
Yeah, but a big man like that, surely when you weigh in at over 85, 90 kilos, surely your job of getting up the hill is so much harder than the Sumbis and the Magnificas who come in at 65.
It has to be. That framework there again, he's got the heart size and the framework and the blood volume to carry that huge body up this hill, but I do agree it's a disadvantage.
Klæbo's made up a few places. I think he realizes the severity of the situation. Tucked in behind Simon Hegstad Kruger. And on every downhill section, I would expect to see Klæbo making some effort to make up a couple of spots.
Well, he feels like he's on survival. I feel that Klæbo's on kind of survival, and the pace really needs to pick up at the front to take the damage, the sprint out of him, if he can survive this pace.
Polteranen has had enough.
Now it's a lonely race. He's in no man's land.
Yeah, the freestyle is not his strong point.
And he's another giant, sorry. He's another 80, 81 kilo athlete. And the climb, it's nearly a Ben Nevis today, 1,248 meters climb. Ben Nevis is 1,342, so...
And if you start from the car park, it's about exactly the same. And plus the 30 kilometers distance.
Oh, that's so true. Sea level's a bit down from Ben Nevis.
Yeah, I'd like to have another look at Magnifica up front. He just looks very, very light on his feet. I like his technique, much shorter. In the old days, it used to be full stride, full arm action, and now they've sort of shortened that on the steep climbs to try and keep the tempo up.
Another thing I've noticed with Magnificat, and it's a big thing that coaches look at in the Tour de France and all racing athletics, is body weight. Slim your athletes down, certainly for major championships. You don't want to do it all the time, but for me, Magnificat is looking much leaner this season. Maybe he's got rid of some muscle, and muscle is weight. But you still need to keep hold of most of it.
Whoops, Klæbo.
Little dance
just a little uneasy. That might push the pulse up. He's gone past one, and he'll use the slipstream effectively, I think, at the bottom to get another couple of places. But he's got to put some effort in to get back in touch with Maurice Magnificat, who's storming down towards the penultimate, or the final climb actually, on this first lap of freestyle.
Just thinking, Patrick, the one trick which Magnificat does not possess. Yes, he's not as good, as such a high-end athlete in the classic, but he's improved on that. Freestyle's good, but he doesn't have a sprint for the finish. So I think that's why he's trying to take this thing out so far from the finish line.
14 Ks out. It's a long way. It's a big commitment for Magnificat, and I hope he gets something for his efforts. Keep an eye on the yellow bib. He's gone from 18th, and he's now up into 6th place. I think he's done well to tuck in behind Ustiagov. Save the energy for later, but everyone looking a little bit more desperate at the back, and Jean-Marc Gaillard suffering thanks to the work rate being put in by his teammate at the front of the field.
I like the way the first time around they stayed on the skating tracks, and now they're crossing over the cut-in classic tracks. It's not against the rules at all, but it's the fastest line around the corner. Don't want to break your poles.
Yeah, that's tough luck for Nicholas Dierhaug. And no comeback, I don't think, from that.
Didn't see that. I wonder if that was a fall, or did someone else ski over his ski tip to break the pole? Klæbo back up at the front.
Yeah, 11.25 still to go. So this race is far from over. Marcus Hellner, the Olympic silver medalist. We haven't seen him at any stage today, and that'll be interesting to see. 7th in the World Championships, Hellner. Perhaps not had as many wins in his career as you would have expected.
He's good at the top end, isn't he? He's good at the major championships. When it matters most, he always seems to bring his best to the tracks. In fact, he's moving up from the back. Well, this lead group has thinned down massively.
Polteranen on his own, and it looks as though he's going to stay that way. 9 wins, all in the classic style for Polteranen. Magnifica hands over to, is it Hans-Christer Holland? I think it is, who's gone through to the front. Sundby still in third, which is pretty much where he's been all the time. Sundby's going to have to play the same game as Charlotte Kalamike and just choose his moment to go. Is it going to be this lap? Will it be the next lap, the penultimate lap, or will he wait until the final lap?
I think it may well be the next lap. He'll try and thin this down just a little bit more. Bolshinov is struggling behind Niskanen here, and I think for the 20-year-old it's game over in this one. Oh, there he is.
Well, in some way, this race reminds me of the Olympic 50, where we had a big group, a much bigger group than this, travelling together. But the one difference, Mike, is that the going here is much tougher than it was in Lahti. There we had icy conditions, very, very fast. Here, the work rate has to stay high to keep the speed. So I think as the race goes on, we're going to see this group. It's going to be a war of attrition, and one by one, they're going to drop off the back.
That's an interesting aspect, and I do think today, if it was around 0 degrees, we would see more at the sharp end at this stage in the race after 50 minutes. At the moment, we're down to only, just confirming, 13 in this lead group, and it's still breaking a few off at the back.
Well, I was going to ask you what you thought the Russians would be taking on board in terms of fluid, but in the current situation, I think I'll forget that one.
Let's leave that one.
We'll steer clear of that for now. Hans-Christer Holland. Actually, on that subject, the 5th of December, big day in terms of decisions as to Russia's inclusion in the Winter Games. So do stay tuned for that.
I don't like talking about it, Padre, but I think we have to, in the sense that it all stems from the Olympic Games, where there was this hidden room where samples were definitely tampered with, and that's with trust and respect. They were, and it's now taken 4 years to unravel the mystery. How did it happen? How many were tampered with?
Yeah, interesting that Martin Fourcade said he's absolutely happy with the fact that Russians are racing. He knows they're being tested more than anyone else at the moment, which is true. But he did say what he would really like is an admission of guilt. Okay, we know something happened in Sochi. No one's quite sure what happened, but we know something happened. It would just be nice if we could clean the books and start again.
For me, that would tidy it up. If you build your testing, every Olympics has to have it, testing room and storage of the samples. If you build a little room beside it, which nobody knows about except the insiders, then you've got a problem. You invite the world there, you do that, it's not respectful. And I think it has to be punished.
Magnifica, he's done most of the donkey work, and he might be a bit disappointed that he still has a long train of athletes behind him. Holland, Harvey, Sundby, Klæbo is still there. He hasn't shaken off any of the big names. Ustiakov, despite taking, 15 seconds to get his fluid on board, has got himself back up into 7th position. He's got Bolshinov, the youngster, just behind him. Niskanen hasn't been shaken as yet. And then number 20, in fact, that must be, is that Rickardson just behind him? 26, looks like bib 20, it's actually bib 26.
Klæbo's still dancing, he's lightweight, he's young, he's springy. And it's a responsibility again on this climb to Magnifica. And it's a burning pace now, it really is a tough pace. This will probably get rid of 1 or 2 more athletes. Will Bolshinov be able to live with this? It's going to be tough.
Holland, number 3, 5 podiums in his career. He has not won as yet. Is today going to be the day? And you do feel that Holland's been as determined as anyone to stay in that leading group of 3 or 4. Surely Magnifica can't do the hard work out front all the way through to the finish. That could seal a major loss in terms of his chances on the final loop.
Quite likely. I think it's a war of attrition here. He's just trying to break, get rid of and snap as many as he can up this climb.
Now, Klæbo in the yellow is starting to look a little like he did on, what was it, the 4th lap in Ruka last week, where we thought he was a spent force. The head starts to nod, the shoulders start to roll side to side, but he found something special for the last 3 or 4K.
And, you know, for Klæbo to last this long, 21.15, he's a survivor, he's determined, He's like a limpet. He doesn't want to let go. And let's be honest, this is another fantastic race from the 21-year-old.
First sign of weakness from Ustiagov. It's only 3 seconds between himself and Kruger, but it's 3 seconds that he's going to have to close down pretty soon. Number 15, Marcus Hellner of Sweden, second in the Olympic Games. And the pace has slowed. Magnificat is eased up. The pain for the moment is eased, but I think it just means there's more to come a little later on.
I keep expecting Sundby to take the initiative, to really notch it up. Is he just ready to pounce? Is he ready to open up soon?
I'm saying third lap of the freestyle, Sundby will go. And over the years, Mike, he's had to go earlier and earlier and earlier. I think in the 50K and the World Championships, he left it too late.
He did. He left it too late. He doesn't have the punch at the end that he needs to contend with these young lads. And he did try. He tried to break them about 20 times. He was the man doing all the work at the front. But he would break them a little bit, but they would glide back. They would come back onto him on the descents. If you were the coach here for the Russian team, would you be racing Bolshinov? This is the 5th race in 2 weekends. You know, when he starts to fatigue like he is now, it's a mentally a tough race for him. He came third yesterday in the sprint.
Well, I was going to ask you the same about Klæbo, because he's the same age. Does he need to do 5 hard races? I think the very fact that Klæbo's won every race, he sort of feels, I've got a race.
I get that, but I do wonder, and I think they were discussing, do we rest him for Davos? Do we not even send him there? And that's sensible. So I think you need rest phases after this kind of...
Absolutely, otherwise you never know, because once you're overtrained, it can take months. Sometimes it takes a whole season to get yourself back to the sort of form you were in.
Here's the bonus sprint again. Magnificat, well, you just think that Klæbo's going to come through this time to get the 15.
No, surely he doesn't want to. I would not like to see him go for the sprint. A couple of points will be useful. And if he is going for points, does that mean that already he's starting to think about being the overall World Cup champion come the end of the season? There's a little injection of speed from Klæbo. Now he eases down. Second place will do. It's only a difference of 3 points. Magnificat picks up the 15. Klæbo goes for 12. Holland pushed down into third place as they go through the 22.35 marker. 7.65 still to go here in Lillehammer. And it's going to be a very, very painful 7 kilometers. Yeah,
well, oh, it's that Tonseth. What a pity.
Oh, we've seen quite a few Norwegian casualties. We'll try and pick up on all those who've dropped out. Callum Smith of Great Britain was about the first to go. But Heikkinen has gone, Røthe has gone, Deerhout, Tarantola of France has gone, Jespersen, Vestgaard, Callum Smith we mentioned, and anyone else? Wang Huing of China has been lapped and pulled out.
If you're lapped, you're dragged out. Dragged out kicking maybe, because you just want to continue your race, really.
Now, Mike, that gap of 3 between 6 and 7 has now gone to 7 seconds. Ustiagov doesn't look as though he's going to challenge for the win. Bolshinov tired, not surprised.
Exhausted. Third in the sprint yesterday, third last weekend. Fourth in the 15 Classic last weekend. Now this is an important part of the race, without a doubt.
2 laps to go. 2 laps to go. Is this the lap that someone decides they want to make their move? Klæbo looking around. That's usually a good sign. For those who are on their limit, they tend to just look at their ski tips. But he still seems to have reasonably good posture on the skis. Tempo is high. And as yet, he has done none of the leading. It's still Holland who's happy to grind away.
Just thinking, Kruger, we haven't really mentioned him much. He is a class act. He won many medals at junior and under-23 championships, and 8th in the Tour de Ski last year. So he's got status, and he's up with the sharp end of this race right now after an hour.
Poland finishing third in the 15K freestyle, the pursuit race in Ruka last week. That's obviously given him a bit of confidence, and Magnifica, who produced the fastest time in that race, is there. Harvey, he was contending for podiums as well. Klæbo, Sumbi, it's the same characters. Number 6 is Alexei Shavotkin. He's done really well, and he's the only Russian surviving in that lead group. There's Ustiakov, 7 seconds down last time we saw. He's slowly getting back there, Mike. Slowly getting in touch.
He's such a fighter, and we know he's a great sprinter, Ustiakov, if he can keep contact, but you just sense that someone else is going to take this pace on. What's up with Sumbi? Doesn't seem to want to get tied up at the front at the moment. Hurland, he had a back injury in September. 3-4 weeks he had to have recovery, or trying to fix it.
Anyone in this group who you're surprised by?
Well, yeah, Niskanen, to be honest. We knew he had worked a lot on his freestyle, but this is pretty good. He's only 6 seconds off the place, and it's an 8th position. And after praising Rickardson, the giant, I think that this terrain is very, very tough for him indeed.
Yeah, Marcus Hellner looks to be struggling as well. And Alexander Bolshinov, again, he's not going to add to the 2 podiums that he's already got this season unless this lap gets slower and slower. We might see an increase on the pace on the next climb. I think it's quite possible we might see someone try and go for it, but they still have to remember they've got 3.75 to go once they come back down through the stadium.
Big names, Harvey, Sumbi. Names from the World Championships, and of course Muzzy was, I'm thinking 50 kilometers, but Muzzy was 4th on that occasion. He's still 15th, Muzzy, and I think we may see him take another scalp ahead of him.
He was 45 seconds behind at the halfway stage.
Now 1:35.
1:35. We could well have a group of 5 or 6 only when it comes to the start of the last lap.
Now, is it going to be foolish for someone to really attack up here? It's going to hurt them, but it will hurt the rest. And I think you're right. We'll probably see a change of pace for the first time, a real serious attack.
Holland carrying very good speed round the corner. 1, 2, 3, 4 Norwegians in that leading group.
Well, Sumbi must be saving it for the last time up this climb.
Shavotkin. Niskanen breathing heavily. I sometimes think we should have a few more directional mics just so we can hear the work rate. We can hear the skis quite clearly, but the breathing would certainly indicate how hard someone is working. Look at the steepness of this hill. Holland makes it look easy. Sitting in behind Holland, number 13, is Simon Hegstead-Kruger, who's played a very crafty game so far. He's been hiding in the group. Now he moves towards the front just in case someone tries to make a break.
He's ready to cover it, so he must be feeling good. Hurland, he's got such a long back as Hurland at the front. Maybe that's what gave him the disc issues back in September.
I remember when skating first came in, all sorts of athletes were having prolapse discs. And then, what was it, a year, probably 18 months, 2 years before the coaches realized how much more core work you have to do to protect the lower back.
And look at the rotation through the hips there. There's constant movement through the upper body with huge force going through the lower part of the back in skating. Well, Hurland's trying, he's really trying, but it's not working in terms of separation, but it's just attrition. It's just slowly taking the sting out of most of these athletes' legs. You can tell by the reducing group at the front all the time.
Yeah, Ustiakov again finding himself separated from the lead group. Don't forget, Ustiakov had a fabulous run in the sprint event yesterday, finishing second. I think he thought he was going to win it at one stage when he took Klæbo apart in the semi-finals, but wasn't to be. Holland, Kruger, Harvey, Magnifica, Sumbi, Klæbo, Shavotkin, the leading 7, and Niskanen still hanging on by those Finnish fingernails.
You've got to admire Ustiakov. The sprints yesterday were fantastic. He's suffering like the rest of them who were in the sprint finals yesterday, and you do feel he's going to pull this group back in on the descents.
Hellner will be lucky to see that leading group again, and Bolshinov, I think the tempo just indicates the problems that he's got.
And the rotation, Bolshinov, the upper body, everything's beginning to lose efficiency. the sport through the legs are not locked or efficient anymore.
Well, this is where the 30k race has its advantage. It's almost worth waiting for these sort of situations because you know that all the athletes are on their limit, and we know we're going to get some drama on the last lap.
It's incredible. And thinking about this hill, 24 minutes they will have spent on this hill by the end of the race, this single climb. 3 minutes each time.
One more lap once they get back down into the stadium. And I think that big climb that Mike has just pointed out is where we're likely to see the action now. We may be a little wiser as to who's going to take the top 3 positions.
I think if somebody, and I still think Sumbi's my man, I think if someone's feeling strong, they may well try a quick attack out of the stadium next time, just to get rid of any further threats, take some sting out, and then they can survive on the recoveries before a second kick up the longest of climbs.
Yeah, the non-sprinters need to go on the penultimate hill at the very latest, and that means the first climb out of the stadium. Who would you put in that bracket? Sumbi certainly. Is Holland in that group?
Holland in that group, he's not a finisher. Certainly not one of the best.
Magnificat?
Magnificat absolutely has to go early. They're really going now for the sprint, obviously, and someone may capitalise at the end of the sprint.
Whereas Klæbo and Harvey are both good enough to hold on.
Holland got his ski pole almost dragged out of his hands. I'm not sure the strap is back in yet.
Maurice Magnificat, he's gone back to the front. Does he think it's a bonus sprint? I hope not. And they're likely to cut over to the right-hand side, despite the risk of getting the skis into the classic tracks. Save yourself 10 meters if you can. Niskanen. What's it going to take to get rid of the Finn at the back of this group? Something monumental from those at the front. Shavotkin has got himself in a good position now.
And then there were 9s. Well, a little bit Ushchigov and Niskanen slightly detached.
I was just thinking for a second, some of them had miscounted the loops, but of course not. On the final loop, they'll go under that banner and then down that home straight of 100 meters. Shavotkin as he winding up for an early attack on this final loop. 3.75 to go, and the first 7 laps have been hard enough, but this is going to be the hardest of the lot.
I was just thinking there, is Shavotkin going to the front to slow it down, to allow Ushchigov? There's Ushchigov. Is he going to try and slow it down to let Ushchigov back in on this? That's probably team orders.
Be generous. It would be very, very generous indeed, but in terms of who's got the better chance of winning a sprint finish, Ustiagov is in there.
Yeah, without a doubt. If he can make contact with that brutal group at the front, the group of 8 just ahead of him.
Hellner now finds himself 29 behind. Last time we saw he was 26, so he's lost another few seconds. And Niskanen.
Well,
what is going on? This is a phenomenal effort, and it just shows, doesn't it, Mike? If you focus on a technique, you can improve dramatically. Sumbi did exactly the same. What was it, 4 or 5 years ago?
Oh, he did. He was very good in classic. Had the knee collapsing effectively on the skates. Sumbi worked a whole summer thoroughly on that, and then came to the top of the world.
Klæbo, to be honest, starting to look a little bit like Peder Northug with those rounded shoulders. Hasn't got the strength to lift the head up at this stage. If he can win this one, it would be nothing short of a miracle. He is still a threat.
Klæbo, to have survived 26.5 kilometers, he really is a threat. He won't let go now easily.
Yeah, if it comes down to the last climb, I think Klæbo will be able to raise his game. But if they go on this climb, it could be a very different story indeed.
That shortcut of taking the inside line over the classic tracks, it's a definite little assist up this climb.
He is one tired man. Can he keep it going for another 3 kilometers?
Well, everybody's just trying to figure which way is this chess game going. Who's going to be the strongest? Kruger. For now. They must all know the big threat in this group is the man at the back, if he can survive, and they'll be trying to take the sting out of Klæbo's legs.
Well, there's still no really positive move, and I don't believe that Kruger, who leads, is under team orders just to slow the pace to keep Klæbo there. Sundby, he's still quite a long way off the leaders. Niskanen has been up and back. I'm surprised that he's allowed himself to lose the ground that he gained early on. Just under 3 kilometers to go, and it's going to take them around 7 minutes. We're looking at a winning time, what, 1:17, 1:18?
I think so, around about that. I'm just looking at Sundby and just wondering what's going through his mind. His mouth is wide open like a goldfish out of water, so maybe he is struggling.
Ustiakov, he's not looking happy, but if he's only 5 meters off the lead group with a minute of climbing to go, we might see some of the efforts we saw in the Tour de Ski, but there's nothing there that convinces me that Ustiakov can win.
He is one exhausted athlete. Only as the electric impulse to his brain is saying, keep going, try and keep with this.
Jean-Marc Gaillard just heading up towards the top of that climb. And now, no one has gone on the penultimate climb. We are down to the final climb, but it is a full 3 minutes long. And this is where we expect to see Sundby just make some ground. Look at that, he's gone from 6th to 5th to 4th to 3rd. And now Klæbo comes up on the shoulder of the rest of them. He wants a bit of the action as well. And for the first time in the last 7 laps, Klæbo hits the front. And I wonder what Alex Harvey thought when he saw the yellow bib coming past him. Oh my goodness, don't say he's there. But it's 3 minutes of climbing, Mike. This is a monumental test.
It is, and Klæbo, bless him, he's thinking, right, I want to dictate this final hill, at least maybe try and hold sprinting back.
Sharp right-hander, you want to carry good speed, and Klæbo's tactic may well be just to steady the pace, stop the sprint happening. The later the sprint happens, the greater his chance of winning. Alex Harvey knows that and may well go early. Where's Sundby? He's still a long way back, but he'll wind this one up slowly. Sundby on the far side with the beard, you'll know him by now. And of course, Magnificat for France is still in there. No chance now for Ustiakov, who's some 30 meters off the pace, and it's still Klæbo dictating the pace.
Now, isn't that clever from Klæbo? He went to the front to block the best line effectively. He is exhausted, but he's just desperately trying to hold the pace change back.
Where did he learn that from? One, Petter Northug, who did it time and time again to good effect. Holland showing no respect to Klæbo. He's on the left-hand side, and now the pace will start to increase. It just levels out a bit, a little chance to get a breather, and then they go again.
Klæbo, well, do you know what? Every time he's got someone alongside him, he puts in a sprint. He's let Holland go through now, but he knows Holland's not a sprinter.
Sundby, he's made his way to the front, very, very steady, gone into second, just ahead of Klæbo, who's struggling a little now. Shavotkin's still there for Russia. Magnificat still looking comfortable, wearing 4. Alex Harvey, the 50k world champion, down in around 6th position at the moment, and Niskanen is still there hanging on. He hasn't been off the back for a while.
Fabulous.
Here goes Sundby.
The amount of energy Sundby had to put out to get all the way around Klæbo was huge, and that's a great strategy from Klæbo to hold him back.
And Sundby needs to be 20, 30 meters clear before he hits the bottom of the final hill. Don't forget, they've still got that climb that we saw in the sprint yesterday. Is that where Klæbo is finally going to crack? We will see. 0.6 between the leading two. Holland, who's not been out of the top 4 all the way around this race, in 3 at the moment. And Kruger looking good in 4. Norwegians will certainly get someone on the podium, you feel, but will they get that top spot? There's a gap back to Magnificat, Mike.
Oh, there's 3. There's only 3 now, and Sundby, but Klæbo can come back from this. Sundby's taking all the pain at the front now, and as I say, he had to work really hard to get all the way around Klæbo, who had the best racing line up this climb.
Has Sundby got it? Has he done enough?
Not yet, not yet. He needs more. He needs more distance.
Well, he may have 4 or 5 seconds. As we said, this course was designed for someone like Sundby, who has the most phenomenal system. I'd love to know what his VO2 is, but I would suspect he's one of those men who's up at around the 90 level.
You just feel that, I think he must be 90, 91. Even though he's got a huge lead there, you still feel that with Klæbo there, that this it's not enough. There's one more climb, a very fast descent. Their legs are completely spent at this stage after nearly, what, 1:15 of racing.
Yeah, it was Klæbo hanging back, so he had something for the last climb. He gained Well, actually, I'm trying to think. The last climb in Ruka, Mike, he went from at least 30 metres behind Sundby to draw level with him by the top of that climb.
Massive. He's slightly roadblocked with Hurlan just ahead of him. But if anybody can read the best line, it's Klæbo. There he goes.
Norway getting 2, 3 and 4 in the women's skiathlon earlier on today. They're on schedule to get 1, 2 and 3 in the men's. The question is, will it be Sundby, last year's World Cup winner, who takes the win? The gap looks massive now, with just one shot left-hand corner to go before he starts the final climb. This is where it counts for Sundby, and he's still going to have to dig deep to hold off the others.
Well, Sundby lost a little bit of pace compared to Klæbo around that bend. He anchored the skis too soon.
Here goes Klæbo. He's up the pace, and he's already closed 5 metres of that gap. But he's got a lot of work still to do. It's Sundby with another 50, 60 metres to go to the top of the climb. And Klæbo is coming, and he's coming hard.
Sundby needs to cut this corner as tight as he can to the right. Go now, because Klæbo's on his case, and Klæbo's got the ultimate finish.
Another 20 metres to go.
The
gap is almost closed. He's going to be in the slipstream just as he was with Ustiakov in the sprint 24 hours ago. It's far from over, and the odds have switched from Sundby to Klæbo. Can he make it 5 out of 5 this season? He's getting closer by the metre. 150 metres still to go.
He's got it.
And it's almost an action replay of the sprint finish yesterday. Klæbo's got it in the bag. Sundby knows that he can't win this one. Oh, phenomenal skiing. Petter Northug, watch and learn. You have taught this man everything you know, and he's learned a whole lot more. He is a phenomenon. 5 races, 5 victories, 1:16.47. But the most incredible thing, he was 100 metres out of contention with a kilometre to go.
Speechless.
Breathtaking.
Speechless.
Absolutely breathtaking. Holland makes it 1, 2, 3, and Kruger, for good measure, makes it 1, 2, 3 and 4 for the Norwegians.
We've never seen an athlete quite like this, and stats prove it. 17 World Cup races, 8 victories, and he's still just 21.
I suspect we won't see him on the plane to Davos.
I think they've got to nurture, let him rest, let him recover, save this kind of magic for February, save it for after Christmas.
Yeah, he needs and deserves a rest. What does Sundby feel now? He must have thought he saw Klæbo coming down the hill some 50 metres behind him. He timed that to perfection, Mike. It was absolutely immaculate.
Sundby wasn't aware in that last 200, wasn't aware that Klæbo was so close.
Well, is that the best finish you've ever seen? I think Northug fans would probably argue not, but it was pretty special, wasn't it? And as Mike pointed out to me, Klæbo was, what, 8, 9, 10 when Northug was at his best. He was sitting at home, watching him, watching his hero. And today, he used every trick in the book. Quite phenomenal. Biathlon coming up next from Östersund. 500 points from 5 races. You can't beat that. Fantastic. 1:16.47, the winning time. 13th for Andy Musgrave. Sorry, we didn't see much of Andy. He lost touch with the leading group in the Classic, when they started to turn it up with 2 laps of the Classic gone. But he's done really well to get back up into the top 13. So good pacing from Musgrave, but he didn't get a look in at the front. It was all about Klæbo and the tactics he used to make it a 100% record of victories this season.